throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh! Doncic pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang!
Welcome back to the Double Trouble Podcast. It's been exactly 1 week since the last episode. I decided to come on here because obviously it's time to preview the finals. But this will be an All-NBA episode. But before we get into the episode, I have one thing to say. The support on this podcast has been incredible. I started this last September just as something to do. Something I love talking about basketball, so why not share it? That was my thoughts. And to get into 19 episodes of this, all to be received well, it just means so much to me. And September is going to be the 1 year anniversary of this podcast. And come 1 year by myself, no guests, just by myself, just solo flowing it. Come 1 year, I want to start getting some guests. I don't know who, I don't know what, but I want to start getting some guests. I want to start doing this podcast, doing some episodes with other people. Come September, it will be the NBA off season. The NFL season will be kicking off. So maybe some NFL games, I'll get some other people to talk about it. Some off-season moves, I'll get some other people to talk about it. Now, that's not a guarantee. I'm just going to be trying to look for some guests. I've never accepted any guests. I've never looked for guests. I've just like doing this stuff by myself. Now that I'm comfortable by myself, I'm comfortable doing what I need to by myself, I think getting some guests in a couple months' time feels reasonable. With that out the way, we are in the NBA Finals. They actually start tomorrow. So I'm recording this on Monday, the day before Tuesday, and I am so excited. I'm excited. This is the first finals in a while where, well, I'd say since 2019, where it could go either way. Both teams are healthy. Maybe Giannis might miss game one, but after that, both teams would be healthy. 2019, because I guess you could say the 2019 finals could have went either way. But the Warriors are missing their star player. Like, I don't know. But I guess you could say that went either way. But the Warriors saga, the LeBron saga, none of that. For the first time in a while. Two teams that didn't buy their way to success. They traded their way. They drafted their way. They coached their way. They got there naturally. And I just think that's so good for the league to see these two teams in the finals. It's so good for the smaller markets. I know Phoenix isn't that small of a market, but to see that, you can draft players, make some trades for veteran point guards, and then we might be in the finals if we do things right. And yeah, both of these teams, let's just get the elephant out of the room. Both these teams got lucky. The Suns, if AD didn't go down, the Lakers win that series. Then for the Bucks, if Kyrie didn't go down, if Harden didn't have that hamstring, the Nets win that series. Which is like, let's get that out the way. Jamal Murray, if the Nuggets have Jamal Murray, there's a conversation to be done there. I think the Suns still win that series. If the Clippers like Kawhi, they win that series. Yes, nobody is doubting that. Nobody's fighting against that. Nobody should be. However, that's not what happened. You can say if this, if that, but that, but this, but that. Both of these teams got lucky. The injuries happened, and now they're in the finals. This is an even series. I'm seeing people say Bucks in 6, no question. Bucks in 5, Suns in 6, Suns in 5. And while I will get into my prediction in a minute, to think the series is like a clear cut, no way the other team could win is wild to me. People can't accept the fact that some things can just be toss-ups. Some series can just be close. You see that a lot in the basketball world, and it doesn't always have to be like this. It doesn't always have to be this team in 4. It doesn't always have to be... There's a series that can be close. It can go to 6. It can go to 7, and you can predict that. And I think NBA fans at some point need to realize that. So, with all that said, here's my prediction. I have Suns in 6. But if it went 7, I wouldn't be surprised. But 6 or 7, I have the Suns winning this series. I just think the Suns, they've come too far. And I have not seen, like, murky moments in the Suns. And I've seen a lot of murky moments in the Bucks. What I mean by that is, I've seen games where Middleton shoots 4 for 15. And Giannis is the only player showing up for Milwaukee. Holiday's having a bad game. Lopez looks ineffective. I've seen those games for the Bucks. I've seen Devin Booker have 3 straight bad games, and I've seen the Suns win 2 of them. That's what I just saw in that series. I saw Devin Booker have 3 straight horrible games. He was bad most of the series, and the Suns still won 4-2. I've seen the Suns just win 2 in a row without Chris Paul. I've seen the Suns are better coached. Monty Williams is an incredible coach. While Mikey Budenholzer, I don't think Mikey Budenholzer is a terrible coach. People do underrate him at times. Like, he gets a lot of slack, and slander that he doesn't deserve. Monty Williams is a better coach. Like, undoubtedly. But I think one of the most fun parts of this series is the Chris Paul-Jrue Holiday matchup. Those are 2 incredible veteran point guards, great playmakers, great defenders, great scorers. And they've had some bad games throughout these playoffs, but they've also had games where they lead their team to the charge. It was Game 6 for Jrue Holiday. It was Game 6 for Chris Paul. And they're going to have in a series where they're heavily pressured. Chris Paul, in year 17, this is his first finals. Giannis, at the age of 28, this is his first finals. A lot of guys don't win their first finals. If you go back in history, a lot of guys do not win their first finals. D-Wade is a slight exception. He did win his first finals. Dirk didn't win his first finals. Shaq didn't win his first finals. Like, a lot of guys don't win their first finals, but a lot of guys go to their first finals young. Giannis, he's young. He's in his first finals at a young age. And he's got more finals to go to. Coming off a knee injury, I don't think we're going to see 35 points, 15 rebounds every game Giannis. I don't think we're going to see a historical performance from him. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to give you Giannis performances. But for guys to win their first finals, that's what you need to see. And I think the Suns are better all-around built. They have some great defenders. Like, they have guys they can put on Giannis. Turkegg, Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. All those guys will take their jab at Giannis. And I think they'll do pretty well. And we've seen points from Giannis and Chris Middleton where they just are not showing up in the biggest of moments. We've seen Giannis games where he's not there. He's not there. And to tell them in their first finals, yeah, you have to be great for 6 straight, 7 straight. That's hard to believe for the Milwaukee Bucks. Chris Paul can have 7 straight good games. Devin Booker can have 7 straight good games. But the rest of that, we have not seen for the Bucks on the Bucks side of things. DeAndre Ayton. I think Ayton and Lopez is a good matchup. I'm excited to see how Ayton defends Lopez at the perimeter. He did good on Jokic. Ayton's been fine as a perimeter defender, but Lopez is a very good 3-point shooter. He's going to have another task as a perimeter defender. Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, all those guys, all those lower-end players, they have to be as good as they've been this entire playoff run for the Suns. Also, Bryn Forbes, Bobby Portis. These are guys that have to be good as well. I think the Suns, they have more experience. They have guys who have been in these moments. When you look at the Bucks side, it's first finals. But they both teams have some veterans. For the Suns, you can look at Jay Crowder. For the Bucks, you can look at PJ Tucker. I'm excited, man. This is gonna be a very good series. So heading into Game 1 tomorrow in Phoenix, Phoenix has the home court advantage. They were the 2 seed in the West. Meanwhile, the Bucks were the 3 seed in the East. We still do not know the status on Giannis Antetokounmpo. We don't know. He looked in good spirits after Game 6, but he did hyperextend his knee. I assume he'll be back for Game 1 because there was a report that said if Hawks-Bucks went to Game 7, he would be back. And he's going to get more time than he would in that Game 7. So I hope he's back. If he is not back for Game 1, he'd be back for Game 2. So it's not I'm not that worried. Suns have not lost a game one this entire playoffs. Meanwhile, the Bucks have lost 2 out of 3 game ones. The third one they barely won. It went to overtime. The Heat easily could have won that. They're a team that doesn't always come out with the most intensity in game one and in the finals. In the first round, second round, you can go down 2-0 and be fine. In the finals, game one really sets that intensity. If you go back in the years, there's not a lot of teams who lost game one and still ended up winning the finals. At least convincingly. But, and I think the Suns will win games. I think the Suns will win game one. To make that clear, I think they will win game one. They've won 3 game ones in a row. They always come out with the most intensity in these game ones. I think they'll win. But that's not a game over for the Bucks if they do win. It's a game for the Bucks to set their matchups. It's a game for the Bucks to realize what they've got to do in this series. And especially if they're without Giannis, they shouldn't get that much shouldn't be taken out of a Bucks loss if they are to lose in game one. But what I want to do here is I want to go matchup by matchup in this series. Chris Paul and Jrue Holiday, I already briefly touched on. That's going to be an incredible matchup. Both of those point guards are so talented. They're great defenders. They do so much on the floor, and they mean so much to their respective teams. Like, I am so excited to watch Chris Paul and Jrue Holiday go at it for a 7-game series. However, there have been times where I look at Jrue Holiday's defense and be like, yeah, it's a little murky right now. Kyrie Irving going crazy on Jrue Holiday. Trae Young going crazy on Jrue Holiday. So those are guys, like, I look at Jrue Holiday, I'm like, listen, I know you're a great defender, but I need you to be consistent with it. You can't go on and off defensively. Because I've seen games where Jrue Holiday is not giving Trae Young a lick of space. But I've also seen games where Trae Young hits 5 straight threes on Jrue Holiday. Before I go to the rest of the matchups, what I want to say is the Suns won both of the regular season games against Milwaukee. Game 1, the Bucks had a lead in the fourth quarter. Suns battled back and won that game. Game 2, Game 2 was a questionable call. PJ Tucker was called for a foul. Devin Booker hit a free throw, and that's what ended that game. Both games were decided by a mere 1 point. Both were Chris Middleton shots away from the Bucks winning. So, the Suns won both games, and I've seen Suns fans being like, the Suns won both games as a catalyst for them winning the series. I don't think you can take that into account that much. Also, the first game they played, that was before the PJ Tucker trade, I believe. And Jrue Holiday was injured. He did not play in that game. So, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. A lot of things have to be taken with a grain of salt. But the Suns did win both regular season series matchups. That's something they have going for them. Chris Paul, age 36. He's not going to get a better opportunity than this. If he doesn't get a ring here, it's probably never going to happen. And that's something that's a harsh reality for Chris Paul if they lose that series. That's why it means so much to him. And I'm just happy, one of these guys are getting their first ring. Their first ever ring. And we're going to see who performs in the big moments, man. We're going to see who performs in the big moments. Anyway, back to the matchups. Devin Booker and Chris Middleton, also incredible. Devin Booker, amazing. But he did have a bad series against the Clippers. I love Devin Booker, but I also can be reasonable. He was bad against the Clippers. Patrick Beverley got up in his grill. He hounded him. Now, I'm not saying that no one on the Bucks is a better defender than Patrick Beverley. It depends what they do. I assume Holiday may guard Booker a lot. But then who does that leave on Campaign? Who does that leave on Chris Paul? But Pat Bev gets in your face. Devin Booker is not going to deal with a defender as annoying as Pat Bev, if that makes sense. Jrue Holiday is still a great on-ball defender, but he's not as annoying as Pat Bev. He's not going to be up in your grill like that. The Bucks do have somebody like that, PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker is going to be all up in your face, and I assume he's going to get the Booker matchup sometimes. But to see how Trae Young, because Trae Young was killing this team. Before his injury, there were games when Trae Young was absolutely tearing apart the Bucks. To see how Trae Young was doing that, to see what Kevin Durant was doing before, because Kevin Durant was doing. Devin Booker is a great scorer. If his nose is good and he is back to the Devin Booker we know, I think there might be a problem in Milwaukee. Now, Chris Middleton, like I said, he has got to be consistent. That's one of the biggest problems I have with Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is incredible. He's an all-star level player. He can be a 30-point scorer any night he pleases. The problem with Chris Middleton, the big problem with Chris Middleton is consistency. Is the consistency to score 30 one night and not score 12 the next night. I can't be happy about what he did. He was good in Game 5 and Game 6. He was a big part of why they won that series. Game 6, he was incredible. He took over the game. There are points when Chris Middleton can see the game and just decide it's over. He needs to be doing that every game in the series. I want no less than 20 points each game of this series from Chris Middleton for them to be successful. That's why I'm so hard on Chris Middleton. That's why I'm so annoyed when he plays bad. Because he is a second piece. In a championship team, he's the second option. Right? The second option, if you go back all year, second option, Scottie Pippen. Second option, Kobe Bryant. Second option, Pau Gasol. Right? Second option, Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett. Second option, Dwayne Wade. And Chris Middleton can have performances on par with those guys. To say Chris Middleton and Dwayne Wade sounds crazy. To say those guys both in the same sentence. But Dwayne Wade can put up 35 and 8. And Chris Middleton can also put up 35 and 8. I just need to see him do it consistently. And that's a problem I've always had with Chris Middleton. But you gotta remember, Chris Middleton's coming off a great series. Devin Booker is coming off a bad series. So that's something to put into consideration. Small forward, you have two relentless, great defending, tough veterans, PJ Tucker and Jay Crowder. They are both going to bring so much to their teams. They take a lot of threes. And if they're making their threes, that decides if the team's going to win or not. Jay Crowder was bad the entire series, really. From 3, he'd been struggling. Game 5, Game 6, he hits his first 5. He scores 15 points in the first half. That was insane. PJ Tucker. I've seen PJ Tucker miss those corner threes a lot. But there are games when PJ Tucker's going to hit his first 4 corner threes. So both of those guys, it's big just indications for the team if they're going to be hitting their shots. And they need to be hitting their shots. Because if Jay Crowder's not hitting his shots, the chances the Suns can win, they go down. Because you move the ball, you get a Jay Crowder shot, and then he misses, that's deflating. You move the ball, you go down, you get a PJ Tucker shot, and he misses, that's also deflating. Okay, so Giannis and Mikal Bridges, I'm not going to compare them like they're the same matchup because they're really not. Giannis, Brook Lopez, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton can all be talked about in the same box here. Giannis is probably going to get a group of guys thrown at him. They're probably going to do some Ayton, some Bridges, some Crowder. Crowder, who I think this needs to be talked about. Jay Crowder has experience playing Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not saying he was the only guy that they put on Giannis because they put Bam on Giannis. They put a few guys. Iguodala got some Giannis matchups. Jay Crowder did play on Giannis in that series. And he did not do a bad job. And to see Giannis, I'm not saying Giannis only went up against Jay Crowder. But Giannis did go up against Jay Crowder in that series. And they're meeting again. Last time Giannis went up in Jay Crowder, he basically got 4-0 swept. I know the Bucks technically took a game in that series, but, I don't know. Giannis was out. Chris Middleton did have a masterclass. But then they got beat by 20 the game after that, so there's that. But Giannis, he's going to be also coming off of a knee injury. That's big. Knee injuries are interesting. Knee injuries, they're not like hamstrings. They're not like ankle injuries. If you can score 20 points before a bum knee, you can score 20 points after a bum knee. But it affects the way you play basketball. Joel Embiid partially tore his meniscus, and you saw no effect. But you also saw Joel Embiid, whenever he lands off of a dunk, he's got to be more cautious of how he lands. Because he can't land bad again. Because already playing on a partially torn meniscus, if he lands on that knee, it's over. That's what's going to happen to Giannis. After hyperextending a knee, something that looked like an ACL, an injury many people thought was an ACL, he's going to have to be cautious of the way he lands, and it's going to affect his play style, especially to try to make that change to your play style, not landing crazy, landing much more safe, being much more okay and safe how you play basketball in a few games, a few practices, in one game in the series. That's going to be a hard change to make in the NBA Finals. At that, it's not time where you can just change stuff. This is the time where you go to the stuff that have been working all playoff long. So, yeah, that's going to be something. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, the Brook Lopez DeAndre Ayton matchup is interesting. I think this is the best defending big Ayton's going to get matched up against because he got Zubac. Ayton destroyed Zubac. He got Jokic. Jokic is not good defensively. We already knew that. Then he got AD. Anthony Davis was on a bum ankle to the point where it was Drummond a lot. Not a bum ankle. AD had some type of injury. It was a groin injury. AD had that. And Drummond was on Ayton a lot. I always hated that. I thought it should have been Gasol, and if Ayton kills Gasol, that's just that. But they did Drummond on Ayton, and Ayton had a field day with Drummond. Now, Lopez is going to be a matchup for Ayton. Ayton's going to have to guard the 3. Lopez is going to scratch the 4. Ayton's going to, Ayton already had been struggling with his rebounds. You saw the Clippers use that. Paul George was out rebounding Ayton. Terrence Mann was out rebounding Ayton in some of those games. You saw flaws from DeAndre Ayton, but we've also in this playoff run seen flaws from Brook Lopez. That's going to be interesting. Like I said, they got a bunch of guys who can hound Giannis. I don't know if they can necessarily make life difficult for Giannis. And then it comes to the bench mob. The Bucks bench is not that strong. They have 3 guys they turn to off the bench, and that's Portis, Forbes, Connaughton. Some Jeff Teague minutes here and there, but nobody else. That's 3 guys off the bench. That's gonna be rough. Losing DiVincenzo was big for the Bucks' hopes, but it's going to be rough. They do not have that strong of a bench. But you've seen the Suns throw a bunch of guys down there. Campaign, about Nader. You've even seen Etwan more minutes here and there. The Suns have a deep bench, and they come in and they play. Cam Johnson, he plays. Those guys play. So the Suns bench is going to be another part. That bench, they come to play. Cam Johnson, Cameron Payne, they can bring the Suns back in games. And that's going to be big. So all around, tomorrow, 9 o'clock, I'm going to be watching. Most of you will probably be watching. I'm not going to miss it. I'm so excited for the finals. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this episode. I've covered all that I need to. I will come back every few days, maybe after every 2 games of the finals. I'm not going to record after every game of the finals. I think that's kind of odd. But it's also crazy, looking back. We have been through 2 finals of this podcast. I covered all of the Heat Lakers series during this podcast. And now I'm covering all of the Bucks Sun series during this podcast. It's crazy we've been doing it for that long. But if you've even been watching for this long, or if this is the first video you've ever watched, maybe hit a like, maybe subscribe. But as always, this has been a Double Trouble podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting. And I am out.